Hello, my dear dreamers. Welcome to Sleeping Therapy by Emma, a cozy little corner of the universe where stories flow like moonlight, and each word is a soft step toward rest, healing, and gentle dreams. I am Emma, your storyteller and voiceover artist, here to guide you into the arms of peaceful slumber. As a professional voiceover artist and dreamweaver, I have created this channel just for you, to help you release the weight of the day, calm your thoughts, and drift gently into a restful night's sleep, one story at a time. If you're new here, I invite you to take a deep breath. Feel the softness of your pillow, the comfort of your blanket, and the safety of this space. You're exactly where you need to be. Tonight, I'll be telling you a tale called The Sleeping Moon Goddess, a story that glows like silver across a midnight sky. It's a soothing fantasy, woven from stars and dreams, perfect for quieting your mind and easing you into sleep. But before we begin, let's prepare your heart and body for stillness. Close your eyes gently. Let your shoulders drop. Let go of the tension in your hands, your legs, your chest. With every breath, imagine inhaling calm and exhaling the worries of the day. Inhale and let peace in. Exhale and let everything else drift away. Let your imagination open like a night flower. Let your breathing slow and deepen. Feel the comfort of knowing that you don't have to do anything right now. Just listen, feel, and float. Now, allow me to gently open the door to a world where the stars sing lullabies and the moon herself holds a secret that only dreams can uncover. Long ago, in the velvet silence between the galaxies, lived a moon goddess, radiant, wise, and endlessly serene. She watched over the night skies, lighting the dreams of every sleeping creature below. But one day, she vanished. The moon dimmed, and dreams began to fade from the hearts of all who slumbered. Our story begins on a quiet mountaintop, where a young stargazer named Elira felt the first pull of destiny, a call from the stars themselves to find the lost goddess of the moon and restore the dreams of the world. What happened to the sleeping moon goddess? Why did she disappear? And can the forgotten magic of the night be awakened once more? In just a moment, I will take you there. But for now, breathe. Let the rhythm of your heart soften as the story begins to unfold in the quiet hush of the stars above. There once was a time before time was measured, in a world where the stars breathed gently above, and the moon was not just a light in the sky, but a living spirit who watched over the night. Her name was Elira, the moon goddess, and her light was the soft silver lullaby that brought dreams to all the creatures of the earth. Her voice, though never heard with ears, echoed through the skies and drifted into every heart that longed for peace. Elira was made of starlight and silence, wrapped in robes spun from silver mist, her eyes deeper than oceans and filled with eternal calm. Each night, Elira would rise from her resting place beyond the horizon, lifting slowly into the heavens. She watched as the earth grew still beneath her, and in her gentle gaze, children fell asleep, lovers whispered softly, and old souls closed their eyes with contentment. The moon goddess asked for nothing and gave everything, weaving dreams as vast as mountains and as tender as a feather drifting to earth. And so the world slept peacefully, wrapped in the blanket of her presence. But even the brightest light can flicker. In a time long forgotten, the world began to change. The people below stopped looking up. They grew busy with noise, with time, with rush and worry. They lit their cities with harsh light and turned their eyes away from the stars. The dreams that once rose like mist from the earth began to thin, and Elira, ever watchful, began to fade. Not in the sky, no, She still rose each night, but inside she dimmed. Her heart grew heavy, her dreams harder to shape. The silence she once adored began to ache with loneliness. She had been forgotten, not by all, but by many. Her voice, the soft song of night, no longer reached as far. And so one night, when the sky was heavy with forgotten stars, Elira lay down in her temple of clouds, folded her silver robes around her, and closed her eyes. The moon goddess fell asleep, not from sadness, but from weariness, and as she slept, the night changed. Dreams became harder to remember. Sleep became shallow, the stars dimmed in sympathy. The world grew restless. Night was no longer a place of wonder, but of worry. And still, Elira slept, her breath slow, her presence faint. But not all had forgotten. In a quiet village nestled among the whispering trees and velvet hills, there lived a child named Mira. Mira was different from the others. She listened more than she spoke and often wandered into the fields alone, her eyes tilted toward the heavens. While others slept, Mira watched the moon. She saw how dim it had become, how pale the dreams had grown, and deep in her heart, she felt the ache of something missing. Unlike the bustling villagers who had embraced the harsh glow of their city lights, Mira found solace in the fading moonlight. She felt a kinship with the silent, distant orb, a sense of understanding that transcended words. Her small hands would often reach out, as if to cup the moon's gentle light, a silent plea for its return. Her grandmother, a woman of ancient wisdom and gentle eyes, was the only one who truly understood Mira's quiet devotion. She would tell Mira stories of the old times, of a vibrant moon goddess who wove dreams and sang lullabies to the world. These tales, dismissed as mere folklore by the pragmatic villagers, resonated deeply within Mira's soul. She knew with an unwavering certainty that these were not just stories, but echoes of a forgotten truth. The fading light of the moon was not just a natural phenomenon. It was a symptom of a deeper malaise, a world that had lost its connection to the ethereal. Mira spent her days observing the subtle shifts in the world around her. The once vibrant colors of the flowers seemed muted, the songs of the birds less joyful, and even the laughter of children held a brittle edge. The dreams, when they came, were fleeting and fragmented, leaving behind a sense of unease rather than refreshment. She saw the lines of worry etched on the faces of the adults, the way their shoulders slumped under unseen burdens. It was as if a vital thread had been severed and the world was slowly unraveling. And in her young heart, Mira felt a profound responsibility to mend it. She would often sneak out of her small cottage after everyone else had fallen into their restless sleep, making her way to the highest point of the Velvet Hills. There, under the vast, indifferent sky, she would sit for hours, her gaze fixed on the pale disk of the moon. She wasn't just looking. She was listening with a part of her soul that transcended her ears. She yearned to hear the forgotten lullabies, to feel the gentle embrace of Elira's presence. And sometimes, in the deepest quiet of the night, she almost could. A faint whisper on the wind, a fleeting shimmer in the air, a sense of profound peace that momentarily lifted the weight from her young shoulders. These moments were her fuel, her confirmation that the moon goddess was not truly gone, merely sleeping, waiting for someone to remember. One night, unable to sleep, Mira climbed the old hill behind her home. The air was cool and wrapped around her like a lullaby half remembered. She lay on the grass, her arms behind her head, and whispered to the sky, "Where are you, moon? I miss your stories." Her voice, a fragile thread in the vast silence, carried her longing and her unwavering belief. She spoke of the day's small wonders, of the laughter of children, of the scent of rain on dry earth, hoping to stir a memory within the sleeping goddess. She sang the old lullabies her grandmother had taught her, melodies that spoke of silver light and gentle dreams, her small voice echoing across the silent fields. And though the moon did not reply with words, a soft breeze stirred the tall grass, and Mira felt it, a presence, faint but real. It was a subtle shift in the air, a warmth that spread through her, a feeling of being seen and heard. It was as if the very fabric of the night had sighed in response to her heartfelt plea. A single pale moonbeam, stronger than any she had seen in years, pierced through the thin veil of clouds and rested gently upon her face, a silent acknowledgement from the slumbering deity. That night, she dreamed for the first time in many seasons. In her dreams, she walked through a silver forest, where the trees hummed and the leaves glowed like lanterns. The air was thick with the scent of night-blooming jasmine and the soft murmur of unseen creatures. The ground beneath her feet was soft, like velvet moss, and every step she took felt lighter, as if she were floating. The trees, ancient and wise, seemed to lean in, their branches laden with shimmering dew, whispering secrets she almost understood. At the heart of the forest, she found a pool of still water that reflected not just the sky, but her own soul. The water was so clear, so pristine, that she could see the depths of her own spirit mirrored within its surface, a reflection of her unwavering hope and pure intention. There, lying in the center of the water, was Elira, the sleeping moon goddess, her silver hair floating like starlight, her breathing soft and slow. Her form, though ethereal, radiated a profound weariness, a deep exhaustion that Mira instinctively understood. Mira knelt beside her and whispered, "You don't have to be alone." Her words were not a plea, but a promise, a gentle offering of companionship and solace. She reached out not to touch, but to simply be near, to share her warmth and her unwavering belief. And for a moment, just a moment, Elira's lips curved into the faintest smile. It was a fleeting gesture, barely perceptible, yet it filled Mira with an overwhelming sense of purpose. It was a sign, a confirmation that her efforts were not in vain, that the light was not entirely extinguished. Mira awoke with a start, her heart full of something she couldn't name. It was a mixture of awe, determination, and a profound sense of connection. She knew it had not been an ordinary dream. It had been a calling. And from that day on, she visited the hill each night, whispering stories, singing lullabies, sending her voice into the sky. She spoke of the beauty of the world, of the resilience of the human spirit, of the enduring power of love and hope. She wove tales of courage and kindness, of small acts of defiance against the encroaching darkness, each word a thread in the tapestry of Elira's awakening. Little by little, the moon grew brighter. The pale, distant disk began to regain a faint luminescence, a subtle shimmer that hinted at its former glory. Children in Mira's village began to dream again long, beautiful dreams filled with vibrant colors and joyous adventures. The animals rested peacefully, their sleep deep and undisturbed, their instincts no longer clouded by the world's unease. Even the trees seemed to sway more gently at night, their leaves rustling with a soft, contented sigh, as if sharing in the collective sigh of relief that swept across the land. And Elira, still sleeping, began to stir. In her deep slumber, she heard the songs, felt the warmth, remembered the joy. The silver threads of dreaming were being rewoven, not through grand gestures, but through quiet love, through the persistent, unwavering devotion of a single hopeful child. The world, slowly but surely, began to remember what it had forgotten. The whispers on the hill, carried on the night wind, were reaching the sleeping goddess, coaxing her back from the brink of oblivion, one gentle breath at a time. As the years passed, others began to notice. Not just Mira, but dreamers from distant lands. Artists painted by moonlight, their canvases infused with a newfound luminescence, their brushstrokes guided by an unseen hand. Musicians wrote melodies that felt like starlight, their notes weaving through the night air, carrying echoes of Elira's forgotten lullabies. Grandmothers told bedtime stories again, their voices rich with the magic of rekindled imagination, their tales filling the young with wonder and hope. Slowly, the world remembered. The collective consciousness, once dulled by the harsh realities of a forgotten age, began to awaken, stirred by the gentle insistence of a child's unwavering faith. And in remembering, they brought the moon back to life, not with a sudden burst of light, but with a gradual, tender resurgence, like the slow unfolding of a night-blooming flower. As Elira's light began to return, a subtle shift occurred in the unseen currents of the world. The reawakening of dreams, the rekindling of hope, did not go unnoticed by all. In the deepest, most forgotten corners of existence, where despair festered and shadows clung to every forgotten fear, something stirred. It was Moros, the embodiment of forgotten nightmares, and the architect of lingering dread. He was not born of light or life, but of the absence of both, a being woven from the threads of human anxiety and the collective amnesia of a world that had turned its back on wonder. For centuries, he had thrived in the growing void left by Elira's slumber, his power swelling with every restless night, every forgotten dream, every flicker of doubt that plagued the human heart. He had reveled in the world's growing weariness, its embrace of the mundane, its dismissal of the magical. The dimming of the moon had been his ascendance, and the world's forgetfulness his feast. Now, as Elira's gentle luminescence began to seep back into the night, a cold fury ignited within Moros. He felt the subtle pushback, the faint resistance to his dominion. The reawakening of dreams was a direct threat to his very essence. He saw Elira's return not as a restoration of balance, but as an invasion, an unwelcome intrusion into the realm he had meticulously cultivated. His form, usually a shifting, indistinct shadow, began to coalesce, taking on a more defined, menacing presence. His eyes, if one could discern them within the swirling darkness, glowed with an icy malevolence, reflecting the deepest fears of humanity. He was the whisper in the dark, the chill that crept up the spine, the irrational dread that clung to the edges of sleep. Moros had no physical form in the way humans understood it, yet his influence was palpable. He moved through the world like a cold front, leaving a trail of unease and suspicion in his wake. He did not seek to destroy Elira outright, for he knew the delicate balance of light and shadow. Instead, he sought to corrupt, to twist the returning light into something ugly and fearful. He aimed to sow discord, to turn the very dreams Elira sought to restore into weapons against her. He would remind humanity of their deepest anxieties, amplify their insecurities, and turn their gaze inward, away from the comforting glow of the moon and towards the consuming darkness within themselves. His strategy was insidious, a slow poison rather than a sudden strike. He began by targeting the most vulnerable, those whose hearts were already heavy with unspoken fears. He would amplify their anxieties, turning minor worries into crippling dread, small disagreements into bitter feuds. He would twist the beautiful dreams that Elira was beginning to reweave, injecting them with subtle elements of fear and doubt, transforming them into unsettling visions that left sleepers more exhausted than refreshed. The gentle lullabies of the night, once a source of comfort, would become discordant whispers, hinting at unseen dangers and impending doom. Moros knew that the true power of Elira lay not just in her light, but in humanity's belief in her. If he could sever that connection, if he could make them fear the very source of their comfort, then her light would dim once more, and his reign would be absolute. He was a master of manipulation, a weaver of illusions, and he began to cast his dark net over the world, patiently waiting for the fear to take root, for the whispers of doubt to become a deafening roar. The reawakening of the moon goddess was not a victory, he vowed, but merely the prelude to a far greater darkness. Moros began his insidious work with a chilling precision, targeting the very fabric of daily life. He understood that grand, overt attacks would only rally resistance. His method was far more subtle, a slow erosion of trust and joy. He started with the dreams, where Elira's nascent influence brought forth vivid, refreshing dreams. Moros would subtly twist them. A child's joyful flight through the sky might end with a sudden, inexplicable fall. A lover's tender embrace would be marred by a fleeting image of betrayal. These weren't outright nightmares, but rather unsettling echoes, leaving a residue of anxiety upon waking. People would stir from their sleep feeling more tired than when they lay down, a vague sense of dread clinging to them like morning mist. The whispers followed. Moros didn't speak with a voice, but with a pervasive feeling, a suggestion that burrowed into the mind. He amplified existing insecurities, turning minor disagreements into festering resentments. A farmer might eye his neighbor's thriving crops with suspicion, convinced of foul play rather than good fortune. A mother might worry excessively over her child's cough, imagining the worst. The simple joys of community began to fray. Laughter became less frequent, replaced by hushed conversations and wary glances. The vibrant colors that had begun to return to the world seemed to dull, as if a fine layer of dust had settled over everything. He particularly focused on the villagers, the very people whose renewed belief had begun to stir Elira. He made them fear the night, not with monstrous visions, but with the quiet dread of the unknown. The rustle of leaves became the sound of lurking danger. The hoot of an owl, once a comforting sound, now seemed ominous. The returning magic, which had initially brought a sense of wonder, now felt unpredictable and threatening. What if this magic is not benevolent? The whispers would insinuate. What if it demands a price? What if it brings something worse than what we had before? Mira, ever attuned to the subtle shifts in the world, felt the change acutely. The air, which had recently begun to hum with a gentle energy, now carried a faint, discordant note. The dreams she shared with Elira, once clear and comforting, occasionally flickered with unsettling images, fleeting shadows that darted at the periphery of her vision. She saw the growing weariness in the eyes of her neighbors, the way they pulled their curtains tighter at night, the hesitant smiles that didn't quite reach their eyes. The children who had once recounted their dreams with joyful abandon now spoke of them in hushed tones, sometimes with a tremor in their voices. She tried to counteract it, to remind people of the gentle beauty of the moon, of the peace it had brought. But the whispers of doubt were insidious, clinging to the mind like burrs. They didn't offer logical arguments, but emotional ones, tapping into the primal fears that lay dormant within every heart. Moros understood that fear was a powerful tool, capable of blinding even the most hopeful. He was not interested in outright destruction, but in a slow, suffocating despair that would extinguish the light from within, leaving the world ripe for his complete dominion. The moon, once a symbol of comfort and dreams, was slowly being reframed in the minds of many as a source of unease, its returning light merely illuminating the shadows that Moros had so carefully cultivated. Elira, newly awakened, felt the insidious tendrils of Moros's influence like a cold, creeping fog attempting to smother her nascent light. Her awakening had been a delicate process, a slow restitching of the silver threads of dreams, and she was still fragile, her power not yet fully restored. The long slumber had left her weakened, like a star dimmed by eons of neglect. She felt the subtle shifts in the human heart, the growing anxieties, the way the dreams she painstakingly rewove were being subtly corrupted, leaving a bitter aftertaste. It was a struggle to maintain her gentle luminescence against this encroaching darkness, a constant battle to keep the nightmares at bay and to ensure the dreams remained pure. She saw the fear taking root in the villages, the suspicion in the eyes of those who had once looked to her with hope. Each whisper of doubt, each flicker of dread, was like a tiny barb pricking her ethereal form, draining her strength. She yearned to flood the world with her full, radiant light, to banish the shadows with a single, sweeping gesture, but she simply did not possess the power. Her long sleep had left her with a profound weariness, a deep ache that resonated with the world's own suffering. She was a healer, but she herself was wounded. Yet, even in her weakened state, Elira possessed an ancient wisdom, a profound understanding of the delicate balance between light and shadow. She knew that brute force would not defeat Moros. His power fed on fear, and direct confrontation would only amplify it. His strength lay in his subtlety and his ability to sow discord from within. Her only hope lay in the purity of belief, in the unwavering light of a truly hopeful heart. And she knew exactly where to find such a heart. She reached out to Mira in her dreams, not with grand pronouncements or booming commands, but with gentle impressions, with feelings and visions. Mira's dreams became a sanctuary, a clear pool where Elira could communicate without Moros's interference. In these shared dreamscapes, Elira showed Mira glimpses of the world as it truly was, not just the surface sphere, but the deeper currents of hope and resilience that still flowed beneath. She revealed the subtle ways Moros was twisting perceptions, turning comfort into unease, and trust into suspicion. She showed Mira the faint, almost imperceptible threads of darkness that Moros was weaving into the fabric of the night. Mira, in turn, felt Elira's weariness, her struggle. She saw the faintness of the moon goddess's form in their shared dreams, the way her silver light sometimes flickered. It was a profound and humbling experience, to realize that the celestial being she had so tirelessly sought to awaken was now relying on her. Elira did not ask for help directly, but her need was clear. She conveyed the urgency of the situation, the precarious balance the world now teetered upon. The moon goddess, the silent guardian of dreams, was in peril, and with her, the very essence of peaceful slumber and hopeful awakening. Elira conveyed to Mira that the solution lay not in a battle of power, but in a quest for a forgotten source of light, a relic that could amplify her own weakened essence and cut through Moros's insidious influence. She needed a champion, someone whose heart was untainted by fear, whose belief was unshakable. And in the quiet, unwavering spirit of Mira, she found her hope. The moon goddess, the wounded healer, placed her fragile trust in the hands of a young girl, knowing that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in power, but in the purest form of love and unwavering faith. In the deepest recesses of her dream, a place where the silver forest shimmered with an almost unbearable luminescence, Elira finally spoke to Mira with a clarity that transcended mere thought. Her voice, though still a whisper, resonated directly within Mira's soul, a melody of ancient wisdom and profound weariness. Mira, the moon goddess began, her form appearing more defined, yet still translucent, like moonlight filtering through a thin cloud. The darkness that encroaches upon the world is not merely a shadow, but a being. Moros, he is called, and he feeds on the fear and forgotten dreams of humanity. My light, though returning, is not yet strong enough to banish him entirely. He is a creature of absence, and only a profound presence of light can truly diminish his power. Mira, kneeling before the ethereal form of the goddess, felt a surge of both fear and determination. "What can I do, Elira? How can I help you?" She whispered, her voice trembling slightly in the face of such cosmic revelation. Elira's eyes, deep pools of starlight, seemed to focus on a point far beyond their shared dreamscape. There exists a relic, a counterpoint to the night's gentle embrace, yet essential for its balance. It is called the Sunstone. Not a stone of the sun itself, but one that holds the concentrated essence of dawn's first light, the unwavering hope that greets each new day. It is a beacon of pure, unadulterated light, capable of amplifying my own weakened essence and cutting through Moros' insidious influence. The Sunstone? Mira echoed the name, feeling ancient and powerful on her tongue. Where is it? It lies hidden, Elira replied, a faint sadness in her voice, in a place long forgotten by the waking world, a city swallowed by the tides of time and memory. The sunken city of Elira. Once, it was a beacon of knowledge and harmony, a place where the wisdom of the stars and the warmth of the earth converged. But as humanity turned away from the subtle magic of the world, Elira too receded, sinking beneath the waves of forgetfulness, its secrets guarded by the currents of the deep. Mira's heart pounded with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. A sunken city, a mythical stone. This was far beyond anything she had ever imagined. How will I find it? How will I even reach such a place? As if in answer, Elira extended a shimmering hand. From her palm, a delicate, intricate pattern of glowing silver lines began to form, swirling and shifting like constellations. This is a star map woven from the very fabric of the night sky. It will guide you not through physical paths, but through the currents of magic and memory. It will reveal itself when you are truly lost, when the path seems darkest. But be warned, Mira, the journey will be fraught with peril. The sunken city is not merely a physical location. It is a place where forgotten fears linger, where the echoes of past despair can ensnare the unwary. Moros' influence may extend even there, twisting the very essence of the journey. I understand, Mira said, her voice firm, her fear replaced by a resolute courage. She had faced the subtle dread Moros had sown in her village. She would face whatever lay ahead. Her belief in Elira and in the inherent goodness of dreams was her shield. Elira's form began to fade, her light dimming slightly as the dream neared its end. Remember, Mira, your greatest strength lies not in power, but in the purity of your heart and your unwavering hope, and in the stories you carry. These are the true lights that can pierce any darkness. Go, little dreamer. The fate of dreams rests upon your shoulders. Mira awoke with the star map imprinted not on her hand, but in her mind, a shimmering constellation of purpose. The world outside her windows still bore the faint residue of Moros' influence, the air still heavy with unspoken anxieties, but within her, a new fire had been kindled, a resolve as bright and steady as the morning star. She knew her quest would be solitary, yet she felt the presence of Elira, a silent guardian watching over her. The sunken city of Elira, a place of legend, now beckoned, a destination shrouded in mystery, yet illuminated by the desperate hope of a sleeping goddess and the unwavering courage of a young girl. The dreamer's quest had begun. Mira spent the next few days in a quiet flurry of preparation. She didn't speak of her dream to anyone, not even her grandmother, knowing that such a tale would be met with well-meaning concern or outright disbelief. This was her quest, a sacred trust bestowed upon her by the moon goddess herself. She gathered only what was essential: a sturdy satchel, a small flask of water, a few dried berries, and nuts, and a worn blanket against the chill of the night. Her most precious possession, however, was the star map etched into her memory, a swirling galaxy of silver lines that pulsed faintly with an inner light. Her journey began under the cloak of a moonless night, a deliberate choice. The absence of Elira's direct light made the star map's guidance even more pronounced, its faint glow a stark contrast to the surrounding darkness. She slipped out of her village, leaving behind the familiar comfort of her home, her heart a mixture of trepidation and exhilarating purpose. The path she chose was not a well-trodden road, but a winding trail through ancient woods. Guided by the subtle pull of the star map, which seemed to hum softly within her mind, directing her steps. The first few nights were solitary, filled with the rustling of unseen creatures and the whispering of the wind through the trees. Mira found solace in the quiet rhythm of her own footsteps, the steady beat of her heart, and the unwavering conviction that she was on the right path. She navigated by instinct and the internal compass of the star map, sleeping under the canopy of ancient trees, their branches like watchful sentinels. The days were spent resting, observing the subtle shifts in the landscape, and preparing for the next leg of her nocturnal journey. It was on the third night, as she rested by a babbling brook, that she encountered him. A tiny flicker of orange light, no bigger than her thumb, darted erratically through the twilight. It was a firefly, but unlike any she had ever seen. Its glow was unusually bright, almost defiant, and it moved with a frantic energy that suggested a profound restlessness. It zipped past her face, then circled back, its light flashing in what seemed like an inquisitive pattern. "Hello," Mira whispered, surprised. She had grown accustomed to the solitude. The firefly paused, hovering directly in front of her eyes. Its light pulsed rapidly, and then, to Mira's astonishment, a tiny crackling voice, like dry leaves skittering across stone, echoed in her mind. "You're different, not like the others. You actually looked at me." Mira blinked. "You can speak?" "Not with a mouth, no, but thoughts, yes. And you, little human, seem to hear them. Most just swat or ignore, or try to catch me in a jar. Name's Ignis. And you are?" "Mira," she replied, a small smile touching her lips. "I'm on a journey." Ignis zipped around her head, his light flashing with renewed interest. "A journey to where?" "Most humans just wander in circles, chasing shiny things. Or shadows." There was a cynical edge to his mental voice, a weariness that belied his small size. "To the sunken city of Lyra," Mira explained, feeling an inexplicable trust in this tiny, cynical creature, to find the sunstone. Ignis froze midair, his light dimming for a moment before flaring brighter than before. "Lyra, the legends, that's ambitious and dangerous. Why?" Mira hesitated, then decided to share a sliver of the truth. The moon goddess is waking, but a new darkness, Moros, is trying to stop her. The sunstone can help. Ignis hovered closer, his light casting dancing shadows on her face. Moros, you say? I felt his chill, his whispers, makes the night less vibrant, more heavy, and the dreams. They're not what they used to be, always a hint of something sour. He paused, then zipped away, performing a complex aerial maneuver before returning. Alright, Myra, this sounds interesting, and perhaps less boring than dodging bats and avoiding puddles. I'm in. Consider me your personal, highly opinionated, and easily distracted guide. Though I warn you, my sense of direction is fluid, and I have a penchant for shiny things. Mira laughed, a genuine, joyful sound that echoed through the quiet woods. The cynicism in Ignis's voice was endearing, a sharp contrast to her own earnestness. Welcome, Ignis, she said, extending a finger, which he promptly landed on, his tiny legs tickling her skin. His light pulsed warmly against her skin, a small, steady beacon in the vast darkness. With Ignis by her side, the journey no longer felt solitary. The path ahead was still unknown, filled with potential dangers. But now, it was also filled with the promise of companionship and the unexpected warmth of a cynical firefly's light. The quest for the Sunstone had truly begun. The journey to the sunken city of Elira was long and arduous, a testament to the world's forgetfulness. The star map in Myra's mind, once a clear guide, became increasingly abstract as they ventured further from familiar lands. It led them through ancient, overgrown forests where the trees grew so thick that even Ignis's light struggled to penetrate the canopy. They crossed desolate plains where the wind howled with the voices of forgotten spirits, and scaled treacherous mountains whose peaks touched the clouds. Ignis, despite his initial cynicism, proved to be an invaluable companion. His keen senses, though primarily focused on detecting sources of light and warmth, often alerted them to hidden paths or impending dangers. He would zip ahead, his light a tiny beacon, then return with frantic flashes and mental chatter about a crumbling cliff edge or a particularly thorny thicket. Are you sure this is the way, Myra? Ignis would often buzz, his mental voice laced with exasperation as they navigated another seemingly impassable terrain. This star map of yours seems to have a rather cruel sense of humor. Perhaps it's just leading us to a very large puddle. Mira, though weary, would smile. Elira said it would reveal itself when the path seemed darkest. And it certainly feels dark enough. Finally, after weeks of travel, the landscape began to change. The air grew heavy with the scent of salt and damp earth. The trees thinned, replaced by gnarled, salt-blasted shrubs, and the ground became soft and marshy. In the distance, a faint, shimmering haze hung over the horizon, a distortion in the air that hinted at something ancient and submerged. The sea, Myra whispered, her heart quickening. We're close. They reached the edge of a vast, shimmering expanse of water, unlike any ocean Mira had ever seen. It was not the deep, vibrant blue of the open sea, but a murky, phosphorescent green, glowing faintly from within. Strange bioluminescent flora pulsed beneath the surface, casting an eerie, ethereal light. And in the very center of this submerged world, barely visible through the haze, were the faint, ghostly outlines of towering structures, their spires reaching towards the surface like skeletal fingers. The sunken city of Lyra? Well, that's atmospheric, Ignis buzzed, his light flickering nervously, and very, very wet. How exactly do we get down there? I'm not built for deep-sea exploration, Mira. My light tends to fizzle. As if in answer, the star map in Myra's mind flared, not with a path, but with a feeling. A sense of deep resonance emanating from a specific point along the shore. They followed it and soon discovered a hidden entrance, a swirling vortex of water that seemed to part just for them, revealing a dark, moss-covered tunnel leading downwards. The air within was cool and damp, smelling of ancient stone and forgotten magic. As they descended, the faint glow from the water above faded, plunging them into near total darkness. Only Ignis's light, now a steady, unwavering beacon, and the internal glow of Myra's star map illuminated their way. The tunnel opened into a vast submerged chamber, a grand hall that must have once been a bustling marketplace. Now it was a silent, watery tomb. The structures were intact, preserved by the magic that had caused the city to sink, but they were covered in a thick layer of phosphorescent algae and strange, swaying sea plants. Schools of luminous fish darted through the ancient archways, their scales catching the faint light. The water was strangely breathable, a testament to Lyra's unique magic, but it pressed in on them, a constant, heavy presence. Their first trial came swiftly. As they navigated a narrow, winding street, the star map pulsed violently, warning of an unseen danger. Suddenly, from the shadows of a crumbling temple, a colossal, multi-limbed creature emerged. It was a guardian, a construct of Lyra's ancient magic, awakened by their intrusion. Its eyes glowed with a cold, intelligent light, and its many tentacles thrashed, stirring up clouds of sediment. It was a creature of pure, unyielding defense, designed to protect the city's secrets from those deemed unworthy. "Run, Myra!" Ignis shrieked, his light darting frantically. "That thing looks like it eats hope for breakfast." But Myra knew running was not the answer. Elira had warned her that the city would test her courage and wisdom. She closed her eyes, focusing on the star map, on the feeling of Elira's presence. The map didn't show her how to fight, but how to understand. It revealed the Guardian's purpose, to protect, not to destroy. Its movements were predictable, its attacks designed to deter, not to kill. It was a test of resolve, not strength. She opened her eyes, and instead of fleeing, she stood her ground. When a massive tentacle lunged towards her, she didn't dodge. Instead, she spoke, her voice echoing strangely in the water. "We mean no harm. We seek the Sunstone to help the Moon Goddess, to bring light back to the world." The Guardian paused, its tentacles hovering inches from her. Its glowing eyes seemed to scrutinize her, searching for deceit. Ignis, hovering nervously by her shoulder, whispered, Are you mad? It's going to squish us. Mira held her gaze, her heart pounding but her resolve firm. She projected her pure intention, her unwavering hope, into the silent, watery space between them. The guardian, sensing no malice, no greed, no desire for conquest, slowly lowered its tentacles. Its glowing eyes softened and it slowly receded back into the shadows, its form dissolving into the murky depths. The first trial was passed, not with a sword, but with a truthful heart. They continued deeper into the city, the trials becoming more subtle, more psychological. They encountered illusions that preyed on their deepest fears. Mira saw her village consumed by Moros' shadows, her grandmother's face etched with despair. Ignis saw himself trapped in a jar, his light fading to nothing. But they learned to lean on each other, to voice their fears, and to remind themselves of their purpose. Mira's unwavering hope would cut through the illusions, and Ignis's cynical but grounded observations would often reveal the trickery. That's a very convincing illusion of a giant hungry fish, Mira, he'd buzz, but I'm pretty sure fish don't wear tiny hats. Another trial involved a labyrinth of shifting walls designed to confuse and disorient. The star map was useless here, as the physical layout was constantly changing. It was a test of patience and intuition. Mira learned to trust the subtle currents of the water, the faint echoes of ancient songs that seemed to guide her through the maze. Ignis, with his ability to perceive minute changes in light and air pressure, became her eyes, detecting hidden passages and unstable sections. They moved as one, a dance of trust and cooperation, slowly but surely navigating the treacherous paths of the sunken city, each step bringing them closer to the heart of Lyra and the mythical sunstone. After navigating the shifting labyrinth and overcoming countless subtle trials, Mira and Ignis finally felt a profound shift in the energy of the sunken city. The water around them, which had been murky and cool, began to warm, and a faint golden luminescence pulsed from deeper within the ruins. The star map in Mira's mind, which had been a subtle guide, now blazed with an almost blinding intensity, pulling her forward with an undeniable force. They had reached the heart of Lyra. They emerged into a vast circular chamber, unlike anything they had seen before. It was not submerged in water, but encased in a shimmering, invisible dome, a pocket of air and light in the depths of the ocean. The floor was made of polished, pearlescent stone, and in the very center, resting on a pedestal of pure crystalline light, was the sunstone. It was not a stone in the conventional sense, but a living, breathing orb of condensed sunlight, radiating warmth and a gentle, vibrant energy that filled the chamber. Its light was not harsh or blinding, but soft and inviting, like the first rays of dawn. "It's beautiful," Mira whispered, awe filling her voice. The sunstone pulsed with a rhythm that resonated with her own heartbeat, a profound sense of peace washing over her. Ignis, usually so cynical, was silent, his own light dimming in deference to the sunstone's brilliance. He hovered, mesmerized, his tiny form bathed in the golden glow. But the peace was short-lived. As Mira took a step towards the pedestal, a cold, suffocating shadow detached itself from the far wall of the chamber. It writhed and expanded, coalescing into a vaguely humanoid form, tall and gaunt, its edges indistinct like smoke. Its eyes, two pinpricks of icy blue light, fixed on Mira with an unnerving intensity. It was Moros, and he had been waiting. So the little dreamer has arrived. Moros's voice slithered into Myra's mind, a chilling whisper that seemed to drain the warmth from the air. It was not a sound, but a feeling of profound despair, a cold dread that sought to wrap itself around her heart. And she brings with her the very thing I seek to extinguish. How predictable. Ignis, startled, zipped frantically around Myra's head. Moros. He's even more shadowy than I imagined. And his voice, it's like 1,000 forgotten nightmares whispering at once. Moros ignored Ignis, his gaze locked on Mira. You believe this stone, this trinket of light, can undo what I have wrought? You believe a mere child can stand against the tide of forgotten fears? I have woven myself into the very fabric of this world's despair. I am the silence that follows laughter, the doubt that poisons hope, the chill that lingers after a dream fades. You cannot defeat me, child. You can only succumb. He began to advance, slowly, deliberately, his shadowy form seeming to absorb the light from the chamber. The golden glow of the sunstone flickered, its warmth momentarily receding under the onslaught of his oppressive presence. Moros extended a shadowy tendril towards the sunstone, his intent clear, to corrupt it, to twist its pure light into a tool of his own darkness. He sought to infuse it with despair, to turn the very essence of hope into a source of fear, thereby making his dominion absolute. Mira felt a wave of profound sadness and fear wash over her, a direct assault from Moros's presence. Images flashed through her mind, her village shrouded in perpetual twilight, her grandmother's face etched with despair, Elira's light fading completely, never to return. It was a powerful, almost overwhelming surge of negativity designed to break her spirit, to make her abandon her quest. Her knees threatened to buckle, and for a moment, the weight of the world's despair seemed too heavy to bear. But then she remembered Elira's words. Your greatest strength lies not in power, but in the purity of your heart and your unwavering hope, and in the stories you carry. She remembered the gentle smile on Elira's lips in her dream, the faint shimmer of the moonbeam on her face, the feeling of connection that had spurred her on this impossible journey. She thought of the children in her village, dreaming again, of the artists and musicians, of the grandmothers telling stories. She thought of Ignis, cynical but loyal, his tiny light a constant companion. She took a deep breath, pushing back against the encroaching despair. You are wrong, Moros, she said, her voice surprisingly steady, though it was barely a whisper against the chilling presence of the shadow. You feed on forgotten fears, but I carry remembered hope. You thrive in absence, but I bring presence. The sunstone is not just a trinket, it is a beacon, and it will not be corrupted. With newfound resolve, Mira stepped forward, placing herself directly between Moros and the sunstone. She extended her hands, not in defiance, but in an act of pure, unadulterated protection. The battle for the light had begun, not with a clash of swords, but with a clash of wills, a confrontation between the purest hope and the deepest despair at the very heart of the sunken city. The fate of dreams, and indeed the world, hung in the balance. Moros recoiled slightly, surprised by Mira's defiance. His shadowy tendril, poised to touch the sunstone, hesitated. He had expected fear, despair, easy surrender, not this quiet, unwavering resolve from a mere child. "Foolish girl," his mental voice hissed, laced with a new, sharper edge of irritation. "You stand against the inevitable. Your hope is a flickering candle against an approaching storm." But Mira did not waver. She closed her eyes for a moment, not in fear, but in concentration. She reached deep within herself, not for power, but for connection. She thought of every story she had whispered to the sleeping moon, every lullaby she had sung, every dream she had nurtured. She remembered the warmth of her grandmother's hand, the laughter of the children in her village, the quiet beauty of the moonlit nights. She drew upon the collective love and belief that had begun to reawaken Elira, channeling it through her own pure heart. As she did, a faint silver aura began to emanate from her, a soft glow that pushed back against the oppressive shadow of Moros. It was not a light of aggression, but of gentle, persistent presence. Ignis, hovering nearby, felt the shift. Mira, glowing, not as bright as me, of course, but still impressive. His mental voice chirped, a spark of renewed courage in his tone. Moros snarled, a soundless ripple of pure malevolence. He lunged forward, his shadowy form expanding, attempting to engulf Mira and the sunstone in a suffocating embrace. He unleashed a torrent of negative emotions, a barrage of doubt, fear, and hopelessness, trying to overwhelm her spirit. Mira felt the assault, a cold, heavy weight pressing down on her, threatening to crush her resolve. The images of despair intensified, twisting her most cherished memories into grotesque parodies. But Mira held firm. She focused on the sunstone, on its pure golden light, and on the image of Elira, her gentle, silver form. She understood now. Moros thrived on absence, on the void left by forgotten light. Her task was not to fight him with darkness, but to fill the void with light, with presence, with unwavering belief. She began to speak, not to Moros, but to the sunstone, to Elira, to the very essence of hope within herself. She spoke of the beauty of dreams, of the comfort of a peaceful night, of the simple joy of waking refreshed. She spoke of the interconnectedness of all things, of how every act of kindness, every shared story, every moment of wonder added to the light of the world. As her words flowed, imbued with her pure intention, the silver aura around her intensified. It began to intertwine with the golden light of the sunstone, creating a swirling vortex of shimmering energy. The sunstone, which had flickered under Moros's influence, now pulsed with renewed vigor, its light growing steadily brighter, pushing back against the encroaching shadow. It was as if Mira's belief was a conduit, allowing Elira's nascent power to flow through her and amplify the sunstone's inherent luminescence. From the very core of the sunstone, a faint, ethereal image began to form. The shimmering outline of Elira, the moon goddess, her eyes open, filled with a profound gratitude and a rekindled strength. She was still translucent, still recovering, but her presence was undeniable. She extended her hands not physically, but as a projection of pure energy, and her silver light began to flow into the golden light of the sunstone, merging with it, creating a blindingly beautiful fusion of lunar and solar energies. It was the perfect balance, the yin and yang of cosmic light, united by Mira's unwavering faith. Moros shrieked, a soundless cry of pure agony and rage. The combined light was anathema to him, a searing pain that tore at his shadowy form. He tried to retreat, to dissipate back into the shadows, but the light was too strong, too pervasive. It wasn't just physical light, it was the light of remembered joy, of rekindled hope, of dreams brought back to life. It was everything he fed upon, now turned against him, burning away his very essence. He thrashed, his form flickering, trying desperately to cling to the remnants of his power, but the tide had turned. The light of hope, amplified by the sunstone and channeled by Mira's pure heart, was overwhelming him. The battle was not yet won, but the shadow was clearly in retreat, its dominion shattered by the unwavering glow of belief. Moros recoiled slightly, surprised by Mira's defiance. His shadowy tendril, poised to touch the sunstone, hesitated. He had expected fear, despair, easy surrender, not this quiet, unwavering resolve from a mere child. "Foolish girl," his mental voice hissed, laced with a new, sharper edge of irritation. "You stand against the inevitable. Your hope is a flickering candle against an approaching storm." But Mira did not waver. She closed her eyes for a moment, not in fear, but in concentration. She reached deep within herself, not for power, but for connection. She thought every story she had whispered to the sleeping moon, every lullaby she had sung, every dream she had nurtured. She remembered the warmth of her grandmother's hand, the laughter of the children in her village, the quiet beauty of the moonlit nights. She drew upon the collective love and belief that had begun to reawaken Elira, channeling it through her own pure heart. As she did, a faint silver aura began to emanate from her, a soft glow that pushed back against the oppressive shadow of Moros. It was not a light of aggression, but of gentle, persistent presence. Ignis, hovering nearby, felt the shift. "Mira, you're glowing. Not as bright as me, of course, but still impressive." His mental voice chirped, a spark of renewed courage in his tone. Moros snarled, a soundless ripple of pure malevolence. He lunged forward, his shadowy form expanding, attempting to engulf Mira and the sunstone in a suffocating embrace. He unleashed a torrent of negative emotions, a barrage of doubt, fear, and hopelessness, trying to overwhelm her spirit. Mira felt the assault, a cold, heavy weight pressing down on her, threatening to crush her resolve. The images of despair intensified, twisting her most cherished memories into grotesque parodies, but Mira held firm. She focused on the sunstone, on its pure golden light, and on the image of Elira, her gentle silver form. She understood now. Moros thrived on absence, on the void left by forgotten light. Her task was not to fight him with darkness, but to fill the void with light, with presence, with unwavering belief. She began to speak not to Moros, but to the Sunstone, to Elira, to the very essence of hope within herself. She spoke of the beauty of dreams, of the comfort of a peaceful night, of the simple joy of waking refreshed. She spoke of the interconnectedness of all things, of how every act of kindness, every shared story, every moment of wonder added to the light of the world. As her words flowed, imbued with her pure intention, the silver aura around her intensified. It began to intertwine with the golden light of the sunstone, creating a swirling vortex of shimmering energy. The sunstone, which had flickered under Moros's influence, now pulsed with renewed vigor, its light growing steadily brighter, pushing back against the encroaching shadow. It was as if Mira's belief was a conduit, allowing Elira's nascent power to flow through her and amplify the sunstone's inherent luminescence. From the very core of the sunstone, a faint, ethereal image began to form, the shimmering outline of Elira, the moon goddess, her eyes open, filled with a profound gratitude and a rekindled strength. She was still translucent, still recovering, but her presence was undeniable. She extended her hands not physically, but as a projection of pure energy, and her silver light began to flow into the golden light of the sunstone, merging with it, creating a blindingly beautiful fusion of lunar and solar energies. It was the perfect balance, the yin and yang of cosmic light, united by Mira's unwavering faith. Moros shrieked, a soundless cry of pure agony and rage. The combined light was anathema to him, a searing pain that tore at his shadowy form. He tried to retreat, to dissipate back into the shadows, but the light was too strong, too pervasive. It wasn't just physical light, it was the light of remembered joy, of rekindled hope, of dreams brought back to life. It was everything he fed upon, now turned against him, burning away his very essence. He thrashed, his form flickering, trying desperately to cling to the remnants of his power, but the tide had turned. The light of hope, amplified by the sunstone and channeled by Mira's pure heart, was overwhelming him. The battle was not yet won, but the shadow was clearly in retreat, its dominion shattered by the unwavering glow of belief. With Moros banished, the sunken city of Lyra, once a place of lingering shadows and forgotten echoes, began to hum with a new, vibrant energy. The water, which had been murky and oppressive, now sparkled with an inner luminescence, reflecting the golden silver glow of the sunstone. Strange, beautiful flora, long dormant, unfurled their petals, bathing the ancient ruins in a kaleidoscope of colors. Luminous fish, once darting nervously, now swam in graceful, synchronized patterns, their movements a silent celebration. The air within the protective dome, once heavy with a lingering scent of ancient dust and despair, now carried the fresh, clean aroma of pure light and renewed life. Mira and Ignis, still in the heart of Lyra, felt the profound shift. The weariness that had clung to Mira throughout her arduous journey began to dissipate, replaced by a deep sense of peace and exhilaration. Ignis, no longer flickering with nervous energy, glowed with a steady, joyful light, zipping in contented circles around Mira's head. Well, that was something, he buzzed, his cynicism replaced by a genuine awe. I almost thought we were going to be stuck down here, arguing with a sentient shadow for eternity. Good thing you're so stubbornly hopeful, Mira. As the sunstone continued to radiate its harmonized light, its influence began to spread beyond the confines of Lyra, reaching out across the oceans and over the land, a gentle wave of restorative energy. The world above, which had been subtly aided by Moros' presence, began to shed its pallor. The sky, once a muted canvas, regained its vibrant blues and purples, and the stars, which had dimmed in sympathy with Elira's slumber, now blazed with a renewed intensity, each a tiny beacon of hope. The most immediate and profound change was felt in the dreams. No longer were they fragmented or tinged with anxiety. They became vast, vivid landscapes of imagination, filled with joyous adventures, profound insights, and comforting peace. Children awoke with smiles on their faces, eager to recount their fantastical journeys. Adults found solutions to long-standing problems in their sleep, their minds refreshed and clear. The nightmares, once a persistent threat, were gone, replaced by a deep, restorative slumber that left people feeling truly rested and invigorated. But the transformation wasn't limited to the realm of dreams. The natural world responded with an almost palpable sigh of relief. Flowers bloomed with brighter hues, their scents richer and more intoxicating. The songs of birds, which had grown muted and hesitant, now swelled with a joyful exuberance, filling the air with melodious harmonies. The rivers flowed with a clearer, more vibrant current, and the wind whispered tales of ancient magic and renewed wonder through the trees. Humanity, too, began to change. The subtle undercurrent of suspicion and anxiety that Moros had woven into their daily lives began to unravel. People looked at each other with renewed trust, their smiles genuine, their laughter unburdened. The small disagreements that had festered into feuds now seemed trivial, easily resolved with open hearts and understanding. There was a newfound appreciation for the simple beauty of life, for the warmth of the sun on their skin, for the gentle caress of the moonlight. The harsh city lights, which had once been a symbol of their turning away from the night, now seemed less appealing, and many began to dim them, allowing the natural luminescence of the moon and stars to reclaim their rightful place. Artists found new inspiration, their canvases bursting with vibrant colors and fantastical imagery. Musicians composed melodies that spoke of profound peace and boundless joy. Storytellers, once struggling to find an audience, now found eager listeners gathered around them, hungry for tales of wonder and hope. The grandmothers, who had bravely kept the old stories alive, now saw their wisdom embraced by a new generation, eager to learn of the moon goddess and the magic that permeated their world. Elira, fully restored and radiating a gentle, unwavering light, watched over it all from her place in the heavens. She was no longer just a light in the sky, but a living, breathing presence, intimately connected to the world below. Her light, amplified by the sunstone, now carried a deeper resonance, a profound understanding of the human spirit's resilience. The world had been reborn, not into a perfect utopia, but into a place where hope was a tangible force, where dreams were cherished, and where the night was once again a sacred space, filled with wonder and peace. The shadow had retreated, and a new dawn had truly broken, promising a future bathed in the gentle, guiding light of the moon goddess.
Years passed, and Mira, no longer a child, blossomed into a young woman. Her eyes, however, retained the same profound depth and unwavering clarity that had allowed her to see the fading light of Elira when others could not. She remained in her village, a quiet presence, yet her influence spread far beyond its borders. The sunstone, which she had carefully brought back from the sunken city of Lyra, found its new home in a small, unassuming shrine built on the very hill where she had first whispered to the sleeping moon. It rested there, a beacon of gold and silver light, its gentle pulse a constant reminder of the balance between day and night, hope and dreams. Mira became known, not as a hero of grand battles, but as the guardian of dreams. People from far-off lands, drawn by the renewed vibrancy of their own nocturnal visions, would seek her out. They came with questions, with anxieties, with the subtle disturbances that still occasionally rippled through the dreamscape, faint echoes of Moros' vanished influence. Mira would listen patiently, her wisdom a soothing balm. She didn't offer grand pronouncements or magical solutions. Instead, she would share stories of Elira's long slumber and awakening, of the journey to Lyra, of the power of unwavering belief. She taught them to listen to their own dreams, to understand the subtle language of their subconscious, and to nurture the light within themselves. Her connection to Elira deepened with each passing year. The moon goddess, now fully restored, communicated with Mira not just in dreams, but in the gentle caress of the night wind, in the shimmering reflection on still water, in the profound silence of a starlit sky. Mira became a bridge between the human world and the celestial realm, a living testament to the power of faith and the enduring magic of the universe. She understood that her role was not to control the dreams, but to protect the space in which they could flourish. To ensure that the threads of imagination remained strong and vibrant, Ignis, the cynical firefly, remained her constant companion. He had grown less cynical over the years, though his sharp wit and penchant for pointing out the absurd remained. He would often perch on Mira's shoulder, his light a warm glow against her cheek, offering commentary and sometimes surprisingly profound insights. "You know, Mira," he buzzed one evening as they watched the moon rise, casting long silver shadows across the hills. "I used to think dreams were just random sparks in the dark, but watching the world change. I suppose there's more to it, a lot more light than I gave it credit for." Mira smiled, gently stroking his tiny, luminous body. "Dreams are the seeds of reality, Ignis. They are where hope takes root, where possibilities are born, and sometimes all they need is a little light to grow." She continued to share stories, not just of the past, but of the present. She spoke of the new dreams that were being woven, of the innovations born from peaceful slumber, of the kindness that blossomed from rested hearts. She inspired young and old alike to look up at the night sky with renewed awe, to embrace the stillness, and to find their own connection to the moon goddess. Her presence was a gentle reminder that magic was not something distant and unattainable, but an intrinsic part of the world, accessible to anyone willing to look, to listen, and to believe. The village, once a quiet hamlet, became a hub of gentle wisdom, a place where the rhythm of life was attuned to the cycles of the moon and the whispers of dreams. It was a testament to Mira's unwavering dedication, to her quiet strength, and to the profound truth that sometimes the greatest guardians are not those who wield swords or command armies, but those who nurture hope and protect the fragile, beautiful world of dreams. Mira, the guardian of dreams, ensured that the moon goddess would never truly sleep again, for her light was now woven into the very fabric of human consciousness, protected by the purest of hearts. Decades passed, and Mira, now an elder, her face etched with the wisdom of countless moonlit nights, continued her gentle guardianship. Her hair, once dark, was now a luminous silver, mirroring the very light she had helped to restore. The sunstone on the hill pulsed with a steady, unwavering glow, a testament to the enduring balance she had helped to forge. The world had truly transformed. The harsh, artificial lights of the cities had softened, replaced by a more harmonious glow that allowed the stars to shine through. People lived in greater harmony with the natural rhythms of day and night, their lives enriched by the vibrant tapestry of dreams that Elira now wove each evening. Elira, the moon goddess, watched over her world with a renewed sense of purpose, her light brighter and more profound than ever before. She was no longer just the silent observer, but an active participant in the symphony of life, her presence a comforting embrace that settled over the earth each night. She hummed soft lullabies through the wind, melodies that carried the scent of night-blooming flowers and the promise of peaceful slumber. When hearts felt tired, she gathered worries and scattered them among the stars, transforming them into shimmering dust that fueled new dreams. Moros, the shadow of forgotten nightmares, remained banished to the deepest, most remote corners of existence. His influence was now a faint, almost imperceptible whisper, easily dispelled by the collective light of awakened dreams and the unwavering presence of Elira. He was a reminder, a cautionary tale of what happens when humanity turns its back on wonder and succumbs to fear. But his power was broken, his dominion shattered, and the world was free to dream without his oppressive shadow. One clear, starlit night, as Mira sat on the hill beside the sunstone, her gaze fixed on the radiant moon, she felt a familiar, gentle presence. Elira's light seemed to descend, wrapping around her like a soft, silver blanket. Mira smiled, a deep, contented smile that reached her eyes. She had fulfilled her purpose. She had helped to heal the world, to remind humanity of the magic that lay within and around them. Her journey, which had begun with a child's whispered plea, had culminated in an eternal lullaby, a song of peace and hope that would echo through the ages. Ignis, his light still bright, landed softly on her shoulder. "You did good, Mira," he buzzed, his voice softer than she had ever heard it. "You really did good." Mira closed her eyes, feeling the warmth of the sunstone beside her, the gentle caress of Elira's light, and the comforting presence of her tiny, loyal friend. She drifted into a dream, not of quests or battles, but of pure, unadulterated peace, a dream woven by the moon goddess herself, a dream she had helped to make possible for all. And so the story ends, not with a definitive conclusion, but with a continuous promise. Each time you close your eyes, each time you breathe deeply beneath the stars, know this: the moon watches. She dreams with you. She hums soft lullabies through the wind, and when your heart feels tired, she gathers your worries and scatters them among the stars. Elira is not just the moon above. She is the dream inside you, the stillness. In the silence, the story you carry as you drift into sleep. So tonight, as you lay your head upon your pillow, know that the sleeping moon goddess is no longer asleep. And neither are you. You are awake in a deeper way, awake to dreams, awake to peace. And in the still hush of night, when the world slows its spinning and time curls softly around you, you may hear her song. It sounds like your own breath. It sounds like peace. And you, dreamer, are